I'm Ian, the off-kilter crafter.
And I am Becca, and we are here together in my sewing room. Spoiler alert, I'm never letting you leave.
Should I worry about the automatic locks that we put in to the home and like that being my downfall of like, I'm the one that installed some of them?
Every time you go to turn the deadbolt, it'll just go.
It'll just lock right back.
I'm just going to lock you in the basement.
Oh, that's a little creepy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural Sew Off Kilter podcast.
And this is what you're going to get.
Yep, you're going to get a lot of this. I know that this is a little bit of a different format from what you're used to, but we wanted a way to have a place where both of us could come together and talk about quilty things and non-quilty things, because I know we're gonna go off on those tangents in completely different directions. A place that we could both come together and hang out without ending up having to like take over each other's channels and like be able to have that separation from each other's channels, so that way not every Friday night I'm on your channel and not every Sunday. I mean, I would love to. I would love to be there, but I wanted to give you that space and that allow you to have your own creative space instead of me just taking over everything.
Same. And I don't want to do that on your Sundays, right? I know some of your Sundays you'll do from here just because sometimes we'll be hanging out on Sundays. It's the weekend.
Yep. But
then there will be some Sundays where you're like, you know what? I really just want to do my live on my own. Yeah. And so, you know, if I'm constantly driving over to his place and popping in and be like, hey, Ian, how's it going?
What's going on?
Right. Like then you
looking in the windows. Open.
But part of it is that whole idea of creating a video is much like creating one of these lovely quilts, which, by the way, I'm so excited that we get to sit here cozy in the chairs with the quilts. Yeah. This is a part of my room that I don't get to use very much.
Yeah.
So,
maybe we should feature a new quilt every week. I don't know.
That'll last us about 3 episodes.
Yeah, right, exactly. Episode 3, we got a new quilt. Episode 4, we got no new quilt.
No, we're just sitting here with nothing.
Whoa, now, that's an after dark.
But actually, while we're on that topic, because people are going to ask, before we even get into what we're talking about, because we're kind of rambling at this point, and this is what you're going to get. Just totally just... maybe we should talk a little bit about the quilts that we have. They're both mine, so I think I have the story for both of them.
Yes.
So the one that is on Ian's lap is a quilt. It's just featuring a charm pack that's bordered by some accent background fabric and then a border. And this is actually a quilt that my mom pieced. And while you and Tiffany were here for QuiltCon, I think Tiffany and I quilted this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We just did it all over floral.
I think I may have done like 1 or 2. If there's any,
you had come in right at the tail end. If
there's any flat flowers, that was really mine that I did.
Well, technically, they're all flat because it's just stitching. But I get what you mean. If the loops aren't as loopy.
Yeah, if the loops aren't as loopy, it's probably the flower that I did.
Well, it's funny too because I'll look at that and be like, yep, that is definitely a Tiffany flower. I thought I did great flowers until I compared them to Tiffany. So
Tiffany's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah. Her work is chef's kiss. But also, don't compare yourself to Tiffany or Ian. Like, you are you. And that's the beauty of it. So much like the quilts, where I was going before that, much like the quilts, our videos are a creative journey for us. And so by allowing us to have our own creative space on our own YouTube channels, it allows us to still collaborate, give you what you have been asking for, share our friendship with you so you could just pull right on in here and we'll be happy to chat with you. And I think the rhythm that we have is like every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, at the moment, that's what we're looking at for targeting. Who knows what's going to happen because life is going to get crazy as it always does.
It does.
So we may be late or have to skip a week due to whatever happens, but we'll try our best to do every other week or so and just kind of...
Yeah, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. So for right now, that's the plan. Let's close out the discussion about the quilts because people are going to ask about this one.
Yes.
So this quilt is using a sugar pie layer cake from Lella Boutique. This is an old layer cake that I got when the fabric first came out years and years and years ago. And I just used a white background fabric. And my mom and I were going to make this free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop called Layer Cake Pop. This is that quilt. Mom's is still in a drawer waiting to be fully pieced. She works on a little bit every time she gets near a sewing machine. It's taken her years. This one's done, but I love it. It's one of my favorites. And a friend of mine who goes to my retreat in Alabama, her name is Kim. She owns a company called Passageway Quilting. So she does offer some quilting services. And not to distract you from Beth, because Beth is amazing too. But if you're looking for a long armor that lives in the Tennessee area, she lives in the Southeast Tennessee area and does do quilting jobs, and she did a wonderful job on this. Yeah. So I'll see if I can dig up some photos of these quilts so that we can kind of put them in maybe at the end or somewhere in the video. Who knows? We may have already put them on the screen. Sorry.
We don't know what we're doing yet. Nope. We're getting into this rhythm. Like, it took us a little bit. We may even pop some of the footage of us sitting here. Better A, better B,
better one, better two.
Like,
oh wait, I need my drink. Oh wait. Oh wait! Should we zoom in?
We kept getting up and be like, "Oh, we should do this. Oh, we should do that. Oh, we'll get it figured out. We'll get it to a rhythm where we're able to just set everything up and straight into it."
And one day maybe we'll look like real podcasters with headphones and the boom mic right in front of our face. We'll be like,
real podcast.
Yeah, but you gotta do the gangster lean. You gotta. Anyway. So today, 30 minutes into the podcast, let's introduce the topic.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is welcome. This is the kickoff for a series that we're both excited about. But I did have a topic that I wanted to talk to you about today.
I think it was a topic that was very relevant to my situation at the moment.
Indeed. We should talk about what it's like to move, and not just moving as a human, which is upsetting and stressful for all the right reasons. But what happens when you are a crafter and you have a ton of stuff that maybe other people will be like, that's junk. Why are you moving it? You could just replace it.
Yep.
So I've got a whole slew of things that I just want to pick your brain about and compare and contrast both of our experiences. Yep. So for those of you that don't know, maybe you stumbled on this podcast and you have no idea who we are. Hello. Ian has just moved from the Dallas-Fort Worth area to the state of Virginia.
Yep.
And a couple of years ago, we moved as well. We sold our house, flipped it actually, and I temporarily squatted in a roach coach. I will call it that now. We squatted. I'm saying a lot.
It happens.
It's okay. I'm just trying to gather all the thoughts. Yep. So anyway, a couple of years ago, we squatted in a hotel, and while I was in that hotel,
you paid for the hotel. You didn't just
it wasn't. We weren't like living in the parking lot. We actually had a room at a very cheap hotel in a not so nice neighborhood that I will never go back to. Anyway, while we were staying there, I had to transition from the home to the hotel room, and then from the hotel room to here. And when we transitioned to the home, this was a garage. Yep. I didn't have a dedicated sewing space. I had areas of the house that I could kind of take over, and I did. And then this was done, so I transitioned into here. So I've got a little bit of experience with transitioning and being without my things.
Yes, yeah. My move was definitely further in distance, but your move definitely has some obstacles that you had to go over and through in order to, still be able to work on your creative journey. Because you have a YouTube channel like I do, and you were I remember you live streaming from your hotel room because you were... That was quite the setup.
I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. It was...
Looking back, I should have just been like, peace, guys. I'll be back in 3 months. But I was trying to feed the beast. Yeah. That's what I was trying to do. Yep. So let's talk first off about how did you move your stash?
Oh my gosh. This gives me headaches and nightmares because for those who are watching at this moment, this is pre-recorded. So currently I do not have a lot of my things. They are still on a moving truck. The last I looked, I believe I said Kentucky? No.
Yeah, no, West Virginia.
West Virginia, yeah. So my stuff is still in West Virginia, but there were definitely things that I did not want the movers to touch.
Yeah.
Because our machines are so special to us, and I wanted to bring my sewing machines along with me because, hey, my movers have been great so far. we'll see when I actually get my things, how many things are broken. But at the moment, like, things are good and I'm happy with my moving company. But there are just some things that I do not want them to touch because I want to be responsible for them. I wanted to take care of them. I wanted to make sure that they got from point A to point B safely without damage and stuff like that. And in talking to some people who work at a sewing store or quilt store or work on sewing machines, like, there are horror stories of people coming in with a sewing machine that has gone on a moving truck and is now in 25 pieces.
Oh,
right?
No way.
Yeah, no, I was like, I don't want that to happen to my machines. So I ended up putting all of my machines, I actually rented a van because I have a sedan car that was not going to be big enough for all 4 of my machines, all of the special good fabric that I don't want anybody else touching. My clothing that I needed to have while my moving van was still out. Like, I needed clothes to wear. I couldn't be naked running around, and I needed stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I needed to rent a van in order to pack all the things in, and I'm so glad I rented a Chrysler Pacifica. And honestly, guys,
that was a nice van.
That was a great van because all of the back seats laid down and went into the floor. It was completely flat. So if you're moving and need to rent a van, highly recommend the Chrysler Pacifica. Not sponsored, by the way. We got to put that out there. But could be. Hi, Chrysler. No, just kidding. But no, that was the best thing that I could have done, and I'm so thankful that my friend was like, you should get that van because it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect for what I needed. But I crammed it full of stuff.
I think you could have got some more stuff in there.
I could have.
But you did pack it very well.
I did.
Yep.
I Tetrised it very well. Like, I wanted to make sure that nothing was going to fall or break or anything like that. So I tried very hard to make sure. I don't know. I have this weird, like, sense of orientation and, like, being able to manipulate stuff in space. And
did you play Tetris a lot?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, see, I was going to be like, that's it.
No, I didn't play Tetris a lot, but, like, I don't know. It just,
like spatial relation.
Yes. That's something that I'm pretty good at.
It goes there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and it helps when the things are in boxes too.
Oh,
that always helps to be able to whatever. But yeah, so I'm really glad I did that because my 4 machines that were riding with me and made it safely. My 5th machine, which is a vintage Singer 301, that is actually hanging out at our friend Bob's house because he's going to restore it like he did Ruby for you.
Not Sylvia. Sylvia is the featherweight.
No, Sylvia is the. I haven't named the 301 yet.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
we're going to call her Sapphire.
Sapphire. Ooh.
Yeah, because it's going to be painted blue.
It is going to be painted blue. It's actually going to be painted blue to match my car.
It's also
I'm so excited about that.
We won't go there.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But yeah, so I really wanted to make sure, and like the ribbons, all the ribbons that I've won. From all the shows that I've entered into.
They made it safely until I got my hands on them.
If you haven't seen that short, make sure to go check it out. It was pretty funny.
It'll just be right here in the middle of the video.
Who knows?
My stuff's not here yet. I need someplace to stay. I need a bed to sleep in.
You know what? You can stay with me, and I charge a very nominal fee.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. What's the fee?
What's this?
What is what?
I'll take that.
No.
Bye.
No, hold on. Hey, wait. No. Becca, come back. Wait.
But yeah, so that I wanted to make sure everything. My let's see, what else did I pack? I mean,
you packed a lot. But I want to talk a little bit about how your stuff got here that didn't get packed. So he had 3 ways to get his stuff to the state of Virginia.
Yep.
The first one was packing in the car, which we've just talked about extensively.
Yep.
The second one is the moving truck, which we're still eagerly waiting for.
Yes.
Some of us are more eager for it than others.
I'm so ready to not sleep on an air mattress. So ready.
Well, in my defense, I did offer you the guest bedroom upstairs.
You did.
But he likes to sleep in the cold and heat rises. So he was like, it was just too warm. I want to sleep in the basement. So I was like, all right, sleep in the basement. There's an air mattress. So,
well, I brought the air mattress. There was one down there, but I slept.
One.
Yeah, I brought my air mattress.
My
with me
sister, we're replacing mom's bed. So she doesn't have a bed down there right now. So it's either sleep on the couch or sleep on an air mattress if you want to be in the basement.
Yep.
So, so those are the first 2 ways, moving truck, the van. But the third way The third way was shipping things to my home.
I'm a little embarrassed by this, to be honest.
Actually, I'm not.
Really?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Because it makes sense.
Okay.
And Jason was like, he's a fool.
Yeah.
Low key, he was like, what the heck is he going at? Why?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let me tell you what's in those boxes. First off, it made sense for the purchases because you were still buying things, things were still getting sent to you. And there was a point in time where you're like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it before I leave. So if it comes to me, it's just one more thing that I have to pack. And so for those things, he had them shipped here. So you had somebody that you could land with, you had an address, you could forward those packages. But then the other thing, which I actually don't disagree with, was like your tulip pink fabric.
Juicy Juice.
Juicy Juice. Any fabric that's like, if it's out of print and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to replace, which in this case was those collections, he did not want to take any chance that it would get lost on a truck, damaged on a truck. He knew he couldn't pack it in the van because he was limited on space. And so that left shipping it with UPS. And some of those packages that you sent here had air tags in them.
They did.
The downfall of that wasn't on you. It was really on me because all on this side of the room, this floor was just covered in boxes. I had to tiptoe around Ian's packages. So Jason had asked me, we'd get a message every few days, you have some packages at the UPS store. And so I'd always take Jason to go with me. I'm not going to carry that box. It's going to be heavy. It's going to, no, thank you. So we'd go pick it up and bring it back and put it in the pile. And one day Jason was like, why is he mailing packages to you for him to move? And I explained, it's stuff that, quite honestly, if you were to file a claim with a box of missing tulip pink fabric for what it was actually worth at that time, I think they would laugh at you.
Oh, for sure.
They'd be like, no, cotton fabric, $10 a yard. And you're like,
like, I mean, some of the ones that I sent were out of print, which made me nervous, honestly, to ship them through UPS. But my logical thinking behind it was UPS, their whole job is packages. Their whole job is getting a package from point A to point B. In good condition. In good condition. And I know
you can insure it if you needed to.
Right. It's things like that. But I wanted somebody who, that's their whole job, is moving packages from point A to point B, that there's not, like with a moving truck, they stop at, you don't just have your stuff on the truck, it's your stuff and who knows how many other people's stuff on the truck. And it doesn't just stop at your place, it stops in multiple places. So it made sense to package everything up. I had double-walled cardboard boxes.
They were good boxes.
They're very good boxes. They're the ones that I actually ship quilts in to quilt shows because I really want to make sure that those are protected and kept nice and all that kind of stuff. So I had a whole bunch of those boxes because I ended up having to order off of Uline to get those boxes. And you can't just order one box from Uline. You have to order a pallet of whatever you want. You want a safety cone? Have 500 safety cones. Like, you can't just get one. So I ended up having to get, I think it was like 25 or 30 of those boxes when I put in an order for it. And this was when I started entering into shows and stuff. I wanted a nice, big, sturdy box, and that's what I went with. But I literally had to stash those around my apartment to keep them. But anyways, so I started sending those up here because I knew it was going to be safe, well taken care of. And yes, there's still a risk that the package could get lost. You know, there's still a chance that it could get lost. There's a chance that it could get broken open. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. But 99% of the packages that I send and receive through UPS have gotten where they needed to go or been received in mostly good condition. Every now and again you get that box that has that weird stab hole in it and you're like, what happened to you? What did you go through?
Who did you make mad?
Or who was mad at you? Like, whatever. I don't know. I was afraid, like, so, those boxes were heavy.
They were.
They were 25 pounds each because every time I would go in, they would weigh them, and they were about 25 pounds each. So it was not a small not a small box. And every time they'd be like, what's inside? And I'd be like, fabric. And they're like, this is all fabric.
You think of like little pieces of fabric as being really light.
Yeah.
So I remember when we moved, so I moved my stash differently than you did. I knew for me that 95% of my stash had to go into storage for X amount of time. We didn't know how long it would be there. I thought it'd be a couple of months. Turns out it was like 7 months that it was in storage.
I didn't realize it was 7.
Well, we packed up in July.
Yeah.
We were out of the house in August. It took August and September to flip the home. And then we closed on this house at the end of October.
Yeah.
So we brought it in, but then they started in December to convert the garage, and they didn't finish that until about February.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
yeah, it was like all of those months. Count those months, however many that is. So when you packed yours, you were just packing your stash, your fabric to get it from point A to point B safely. I had to pack it so that it would go into storage and be safe. And so mine was a bit different. We bought, just for the move, the 30-gallon totes, like the plastic Rubbermaid totes with the locking lids. And I pulled all of my fabric off of the shelves, put them in these 30-gallon totes, and I layered dryer sheets in between the different to kind of keep them smelling fresh and maybe discourage rodents because we had no idea where it was going to be.
Right.
For our home, we rented a pod. They delivered the pod to our house. We opened it up, and everything that we were going to take with us to the new home went into the pod. And I'm so doggone happy that we went with the plastic totes, because that last night, the night we left the house and checked into the hotel room, the pod was sitting out front of the house, and our old home was in a hilly neighborhood, and our house happened to be at the bottom of a hill. So when there was torrential downpour, it came down the driveway, and the street kind of sloped right past our house. And we had a torrential downpour. Like the water got so deep coming along the curb that it was coming up over the lip of the bottom of the pod. And those pods are not watertight.
No.
So, like, if you ever need to rent a pod for whatever reason, my advice to you is to put waterproof things on the bottom and everything else on the top. And we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we had put my IKEA shelves up against the door. We had put some other wood furniture up against the door. Yep. And so all of that kind of got water on it.
Yeah.
We didn't know until later.
Yeah.
Remember when we sent that off, they picked it up the next day.
Right.
They took it to the storage facility and held onto the pod for us for a number of months, and then they brought it here. And so we opened the pod in November. So it had been 3 months that it sat like that. So all of our IKEA shelves, the bottom was warped. You could tell there was mold starting to grow on them. We had to throw them away.
Yep.
I had to start all over with the IKEA shelves. We could not salvage them. But my fabric was in the plastic Rubbermaid totes, and it was like nothing had touched it.
That's awesome.
It was nothing had touched it. And they were heavy.
Yeah.
They were big. There were a lot of them. I think I had 5 or 6. I couldn't believe it. Felt like every time I was like, okay, I only need this many. I had to go on Amazon and buy another one.
Yep.
So that's it. It was a different experience.
Definitely.
So,
I wanted to protect all of my stuff. Excuse me. And I would get cardboard boxes. In fact, all of my fabric went into cardboard boxes, whether I shipped it or whether I put it on the moving truck. Because I did put some of my like solids and
like stuff that you could replace easily,
or stuff that was just like meh, whatever. Like whatever happens. But I did. So all of that is in cardboard boxes. But I did line all of those boxes.
With plastic?
Bought huge plastic bags, like ones that your suitcases can fit into.
Nice.
I bought those big bags to help protect what was inside, because I had seen a horror picture. Somebody did a review of a moving company, not the moving company that I'm using, but a moving company, and they showed their box soaking wet and like crushed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen to any of my stuff.
Yeah.
So anything that I did not want to get wet or super dusty, or like even you don't know what other things are moving in that truck. So like there could be, they say that you're not supposed to use like gasoline, or like you're not supposed to put gasoline or propane or anything like that in the truck.
Somebody probably hides something.
Right, exactly.
Or what if you're moving from a home that had pests? You don't want that in your stuff too.
Right, exactly. So anything that was like kind of a soft good, I would always make sure to put in a bag or something like that, so that way it was a little more protected and whatnot. I would have loved to have gotten a million rubber made tubs, rubber tubs.
Rubber. I know what you're talking about.
Those
totes
things.
I use.
Those totes. I would love to get a million totes, but then it's also figuring out, what do you do after?
Yeah, like, exactly.
Where do they go? They don't just miraculously disappear once you've moved.
And those are too good to just give away.
Right, yeah. You like need them, or you don't want to get rid of them. I know for sure.
We kept most of ours. A couple of them we have either passed forward to somebody that could use them, but most of them we've kept for storage, and a lot of them still sit empty, but at least we have the comfort knowing that we can always go back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have that kind of be able to have it to go back to or whatever.
So if you were to move again, another, not just across the other side of town again, would you keep that same strategy of the shipping, the movers, and I'll do it myself? Thanks, no thanks.
Yeah, it really depends, because I got lucky here because you were kind enough to let me send stuff in advance.
Well, I told you the fee was just the ribbons.
Right, exactly. But, if I'm moving somewhere else that I don't have somebody that I know, that could be a problem, because I wouldn't have a landing spot for those to get to. I hope I'm always moving somewhere where I know at least one person or whatever, but I don't think I could do that in the future if I don't know somebody there, or they're not willing to. I mean, that's a big ask for me to have asked Becca to take on. I kid you not, it was like 8 or 9.
It was
big,
all right here.
I mean, well, alone, the fabric alone was like 8 or 9, and then all the purchases and stuff.
Oh, and I forgot about all the boxes that we had already taken downstairs for you.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. So it was a lot of stuff that they were holding on to me. So holding on for, they weren't holding on to me. They were holding on for me. So I don't know. I think if I was to do it again, I mean, granted, I don't even know what condition my stuff is in at the moment. So that stuff I don't know about. But if I had to do it again, if I knew somebody there, I would make sure to ask them if I could send it. If I don't know anybody there, I'm not exactly sure what I would do. Maybe I would make several trips. I don't know.
Why? So this has gone through my head about 5 times, and I wonder if somebody out there watching is thinking this too. Why did you just not rent like a giant U-Haul, hire somebody to load the U-Haul for you, and drive that cross country?
That was a thought that passed through my head, to be honest. I was very nervous about driving a U-Haul and dragging my car behind it. Like, that makes me nervous. I didn't feel very comfortable doing that. I've known lots of people who did that, and honestly, if I had to do it again, I might opt for that option. Because I would have my stuff by now. I would be bringing my stuff with me, and I wouldn't have to wait the period of however long it ends up being for my stuff to get there. But one of the things was I knew I would have friends to help me load, but I wasn't 100. Like, I don't want to just rely on y'all for getting stuff unloaded.
Oh, I don't have to unload them.
So I was worried about, like, once I get here,
making sure that everything was taken care of.
Yeah, making sure that I had the help to get it unloaded. And I know that you can rent guys to come help and hire, not rent.
But this comes with it.
Right, yeah.
Right? And there's an insurance policy.
Right. So, there's multiple ways to do it. And honestly, I would have saved so much money if I went in that direction and gone that way. But I felt like spending the extra money to have it all kind of taken care of for me. I don't have to lift things. I don't have to pick up that big heavy bookshelf and get it, moved into the space and stuff.
And you said when the movers come, the items that they had to disassemble to put on the truck, they are going to reassemble for you. So that makes it a little bit easier too. So once the truck comes, you get to have your bed that night with you just like, you could just sit on the couch and watch them come in and be
Yeah,
like,
that's. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally
eating the popcorn.
when they were loading everything up, I literally just kind of sat in the corner and they, picked everything up and moved it all around all themselves. And like, they were moving stuff even before I even it was like they walked in the door and immediately stuff was going out the door. And I was like, whoa, what, like, don't y'all want to see
Nope.
what all is here?
They're
No,
like,
they were just
it's
like,
stuff. It's got to go. Let's go.
chunking everything out. So that was a funny thing though, because when the guys came in, it was the truck driver and then it was a father-son team. So I had 3 people doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because the truck driver walked in and apparently they tell the truck drivers like how many pounds each load is estimated at.
Okay.
So the truck driver kind of knows how much room in the truck it's going to take up. And so the truck driver walks in and he's like, is this it? Because I didn't have a couch. I didn't have a lot of the home things that most people would have.
You decluttered.
I tried to declutter. Yeah, destashed, did all that. And he kind of looks around because I brought almost everything into the living room where he could see it all. And he was like, go knock on your neighbor's door. Go get some furniture from them. I'm like, no, I'm good. I have enough things. So yeah, it was really funny to. He was like, I think they estimated me at 3,000 pounds, which was not like I didn't hit that minimum of
which is funny because you were worried about going over on boxes.
I was,
but you were underweight.
I was. Yeah, I was underweight. I was over on boxes. I did find out that I made a mistake because I was putting stickers on all my things. By the way, if you're ever moving, a big tip that I received from a lot of the YouTube community was don't label what's on the don't
Make
label
an index
on the outside of the boxes because you don't know who's going to be around those boxes and it could be tempting for somebody there to grab whatever's inside of it. So all of my boxes are numbered and I have them all laid out, but I was also putting numbers on furniture as well. And it should have just been boxes that I was numbering. So
you weren't over.
I wasn't over by a little bit. I wasn't over by a little bit because my estimate was 65 boxes. And I think the total that I came up with was 71, but there was like, my TV stand, there were some other things in there that should not have been numbered.
Gotcha.
So it was,
so just to put a bow on that,
yeah.
You put a numbered sticker on everything, and then you kept a spreadsheet with those numbers, and you put on your spreadsheet what that is, so you can go to your spreadsheet to figure out what it is.
Yep,
That's
exactly. So I,
didn't do that.
As I'm unpacking everything, I can be like, okay, what are the important boxes? Oh, box 25 has XYZ. I need that first, so I'm going to open up that box.
Smart.
So,
I like that.
Yep. YouTube community. They helped me out with that one big time. So
great.
Thanks for that suggestion, everyone.
What else? So, okay, we've talked about getting your stuff from point A to point B. Yeah. Or storage.
Or
maybe A, B, C, right? Whatever works for you.
A, B, C, D, E.
So, well, in your case, your stuff is traveling the country, dude.
It is. It is. It went from Texas. Well, and it hung out in Texas for a while because...
And your car... How is your car in New Jersey, an hour outside of Atlantic City?
I don't know.
At 4:00 today, when it was supposed to be here between 5 and 7.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like 4 hours away.
Well, and mind you, it was supposed to be here last Friday.
Yeah, whatever. And then it was supposed to be here on Saturday.
And then they damage it. And
then it was supposed to be here tonight. And just spoiler alert, I don't think it's coming tonight.
I don't think so either. I don't. They told me it is, but...
Well, I mean, we might abruptly end... I sound like Porky Pig. Might abruptly end because we got to go pick up a car.
Right.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about getting things out and what we did. Emotionally, I think we touched a little bit on the emotions behind that, right? We talked about your nervousness that something could get lost or damaged, especially your cherished fabric. I worried about pests and water control and having things in storage. But there's a piece of both of our journeys that's somewhat similar. Mine was longer, but you're in that phase right now. It's the transition phase, right?
Gosh, yes.
You have a period of time where you can't really start anything new because you're starting to pack things away. And for you, that started a little while ago.
Yep.
And then you get where you need to be, and you're waiting to be able to get into your stuff for whatever reason. Movers, renovations, whatever the case may be. During that time, that was a really difficult time for me. It was easier when I was in the home because I did have my things if I wanted to get to them. But while we were in the hotel, it was really stressful for me because I didn't realize in that moment, or I didn't realize until that moment, how therapeutic sewing was for me. When I feel out of control, when I feel stressed, when I feel overwhelmed, that is an activity that I can go to take my mind off of those things. It slows my thoughts down and allows me to be more present and in the moment, but also it allows me to be creative, which I think is also therapeutic. Like, all of the things helped to control anxiety that I was having. And I learned in the hotel, and I don't talk about this a lot, but I learned then that I suffer from anxiety. And when my anxiety gets to a certain threshold, I start spiraling into about a depression.
Sure.
You've seen me go through that a couple of times. Like, it was hard. Looking back on my journey, our time in the hotel room, I remember telling Jason as we were preparing to lock up the house and go, my printer decided to turn off. It does this a little while. I don't even know. What is it?
It's printing.
What it was the error for the thing that I asked it to do 30 minutes later or an hour.
Or however long ago. That was funny. Back on track. This is what you get, guys.
I have no idea what's going to be left in there, but let's just assume it all stayed. So for me, it was really stressful staying in the hotel room because I didn't realize that I had that anxiety until I was there. And I didn't know how to deal with it either. But there had been bouts going through COVID where the lack of keeping busy and staying fast paced, I just felt myself bottoming out. There were times where I would just sit there and tears would just be falling down my face. And I have no idea why. I had no clue why. Like, I just felt so forlorn, disappointed, just like, not disappointed, but just like despair. Just despair. And I had no idea why. And now I do, because I've spent the past few years focusing on my mental health and trying to figure out why I'm like that and what can I do to help cope with it. So anyway, all that to say, as we were going into the hotel, I had vocalized that I wasn't really excited and I was nervous and hesitant to live in a hotel room for what we were estimating to be 2 months. It turns out we weren't too far off. We were there for 3 months. I was hesitant to do that. And I really wanted to look at even just a 1-bedroom Airbnb. I would have been happy with, because we could have had a kitchen. Our normal day life could have still gone on. I could have still sewed. I could have made YouTube videos. I could have done all those things. But Jason really wanted to keep the cost down. And he won that battle. And afterwards, we had a conversation, and he actually admitted, he was like, I did not realize how hard that was going to be on you. And looking back on it, I wished we would have chosen something different. So in that moment, in that time, I think prioritizing spending the extra money for your mental well-being was definitely what we should have considered. And so when we take that back to your story about how you're mailing things over, it cost you extra money, sure, but it gave you that peace of mind. And sometimes that's worth
everything.
That's worth absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it was not inexpensive to send those boxes.
No.
But it gave me peace of mind, and it, like in your case, like that's a lot of anxiety to be living in with you, your husband, and your daughter
And the lizard.
in one room. Like you can go and
Separate
and get that space if you need it, or step away, or just whatever you need to do. You have that space to step away and have space, but y'all are all on top of each other in the hotel room all the time for three, I can...
Well, and Jason was working from the hotel room as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. This was post-COVID by about a year.
Yeah.
It was 2021. So he went remote in March of 2020, and he's been remote ever since.
Yeah.
When we're, knock on wood, he stays that way for a long time.
Yes.
So our life is a little bit easier now because he gets to be remote, and I'm hybrid. So I'm in the office, out of the office. But at that time, I was in the office 100%. So I had gotten called back. There was no working for home available for me. I had to be in the office 100%. So that made our work life a little bit easier. And Zoe had to go to school, right? She was physically in school, but it also made the evenings difficult, right? Because she wanted to play video games and she couldn't, right? She wanted to do these things with her friends and she couldn't. And I had ended up getting to the point where I was so tired and I was so drained just from the emotional toll that had on me, that even on the weekends, I didn't want to do anything. Like Sunday mornings, I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to stay in bed in my pajamas with my pillow under the head. And I didn't realize how sad and depressed I was until we put the offer on this home, and it was accepted. And it was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders.
Absolutely.
I was like, I know where I'm going.
Absolutely.
And then
you knew there was an end point. There was
an end, and I knew where I was going to land. And then when we got an offer on our house and we accepted it and it was ratified, a little bit more of that weight went off. And then when we closed on the sale of my home, it was just like, and then when we closed on this and we could come in, it was just like, it was the best thing ever. So but I started talking to you or asking you about the transition phase, because that's where you're at right now. And I can remember those days for me in the hotel room packing things up. You still want to create.
Absolutely.
You still want to make your YouTube videos. You still want to do your live streams. There are projects that you still want to work on. How are you handling that? What are you juggling? I think our journeys here are very different.
I'm doing great. It's been a challenge because I do have projects that I want to work on, but a lot of them are in boxes right now. I want to be able to set up my Bernina and start, getting back into that. I feel very lucky because you're letting me use your Juki, and I do have a space to be creative in because, hello, if y'all haven't seen this space, it's
I'll link
amazing.
to a video in the description box down below.
I feel very lucky because I do have this space and I'm able to, if I need to just in the evening, go sew something, like whatever it is, just go sew something. I have that available. It's a little frustrating because, like I said, a lot of my projects are in boxes right now. I don't know exactly which ones are where. The Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilts, they're in a box and
on the truck.
No, here. They're here.
But you still have a lot of boxes.
I have a lot of boxes here, and I got to.
And how many of those do you want to unpack to have to move them again? Right.
Exactly. And so, and also, I need to get the videos out for clue number 3 has come out recently.
Yeah, I have mine.
I know. And I'm
it came in the mail.
I haven't even started. A lot of times the ambassadors get their clues early, and I did get the clue early, but I couldn't do anything with it. I could not make it. In fact, I had already shipped that in one of the boxes up here, so I literally could not use it. And that was the real frustrating part, switching to back when I was getting ready to leave, was I was really starting to pack everything up, and my live streams were just kind of like finishing projects, and I didn't want to start anything because I definitely didn't want to start something and have lots of pieces that could get lost. That's why I wanted to finish Gravity early and get that out of the way and done with. So I really tried and was very intentional about finishing projects and not having any open projects or loose projects to work on, and that's why the last live stream that I did from my apartment was just opening up the mystery boxes, the Halloween mystery boxes, because I needed content. I needed something to kind of put the button on my experience in Fort Worth, in DFW, but I didn't want to start a project or work on a project or anything like that, especially because a lot of my sewing machines, even though they were there, my table wasn't there. My 6-foot folding table that I was using, that wasn't there. So what am I going to do? Sit on the floor and sew? Like,
I think that would have been an amazing video.
It was.
What do you really need to sew?
Yeah,
a floor.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, I wasn't about to do that. So it was frustrating trying to figure out projects to finish up with that I didn't need a machine, or that I didn't need to have all of the things around me or with me to do that, because a lot of my sewing notions are on the moving truck.
Yeah.
Like those are replaceable. I can deal with that, but those are on the truck right now, so I don't have my rulers, I don't have things, I don't have my things, and so it can be really frustrating, because I like to get off work and usually go straight into sewing on a project. That was my flow, and I'm gonna have to find a new flow here. Like, now that I have moved, and when I get into my apartment, I will find a flow that works with this area, because things have changed. The news comes on at a different time. That was my thing of, like, I get off work, I turn on the news, I start working on a project, I start sewing, I take a shower, eat dinner.
That was your routine.
Yeah, that was like, I had a very specific routine, and it's okay to break routines, but I'm now kind of in that limbo weird phase of, like, what does my new routine look like? What are my new day-to-day things look like? What are, how am I going to set up my new life, basically? So there's a lot of figuring things out, and I will get there. It's going to be fine. It's just, it feels weird. Like, that's the best way that I could put it.
You mentioned to me, and it's probably because you're staying here and you've been here multiple times, and some of them for a month, right? So, like, you're very comfortable here. The family's very comfortable with you. You fit in really well. And so, one of the things that you mentioned to me just a couple of days ago, you're like, it feels like I'm on vacation. It hasn't set in yet.
Yeah.
I don't think it will set in until your bed is here and your car is here, right?
I don't even know if it will then, because, like, when I was leaving, as I'm packing things up.
Well, when you start seeing your place come together, right?
Like, even up until the point of, like, looking at my apartment the last time, like, everything's out of my apartment. There's nothing there. It's the same way I found it when I came into that apartment for the first time. Yes, it kind of hit that things were about to be different, but it was still home. It was like, it still hadn't quite sunk in. So yeah, right now I do still feel like I'm on vacation, because I've been here 4 times previously. And I'm very comfortable with everybody, and I'm comfortable in this space, but I don't know if it, like, even when I get my stuff here and start setting up my apartment and all that kind of stuff, I don't know, like, I still need to get a Virginia's driver's license. And I know the first couple of times they asked for my driver's license, I'm going to be like, where's that Texas flag? Why is there not a Texas flag on that? Oh, right. Like, I don't know. It's just this weird space that I will, and, like, it will become second nature, and everything will fall into place. But it's just kind of, I think I didn't expect to get as emotional as I did randomly.
Oh, I expected that, because you are an emotional person.
I am.
And so I was like, yeah, I expected.
Yeah. There were definitely moments, like, the biggest one that impacted me the most is when my friend helped me pack my TV up. Lucas came over, and I needed somebody over at my apartment to help me pack it up before the movers came, and the only time that he was available was going to be the Sunday before the movers came. And so we put it into the box, and we put the box up, on the stand, and he left, and then I just kind of sat there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like,
what did I do?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, what did I do? What have I done? And that's really when it kind of hit me the hardest was when it was like, oh, this is like no turning back point. Like this is
This is it.
This
Yeah,
is it.
this is
So it was weird to have those random moments where I would, the emotion would kind of I would get a wave of emotion that came over me, and then it would be like, okay, this is happening.
Sure.
This is happening.
For me, our stories are so different, right? Because you're moving to a different state and you've got to figure out your new rhythm and the new people around, like all of that. And I feel like I had some of that because we moved. Ooh, special text.
Oh, this is them.
Oh, hold on.
Hello?
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Ian had to take a phone call that was very important,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So we realized there was a jump cut. We abruptly ended where there was a call, but the beauty of editing is you did not have to wait for the call and listen to it. So you want to tell them what that call was really quick?
Yeah, so surprise, surprise, my car will not be delivered tonight. Well, it could have been delivered at midnight tonight, and I was
in a parking lot.
in a parking lot.
By a stranger.
Yeah, no.
In the dark.
No. If I've learned anything from the internet, is don't meet strangers in a parking lot.
In a parking lot alone.
No. So no, we were talking about my experience and
the transition, what it was like for you to be, because you were talking about how the box and the TV got packed up and all that stuff. And I think I was starting to share that my transition was a little difficult. And I talked a little bit about how I didn't realize I was dealing with anxiety and depression then. I do now. And I am okay. I'm okay. You're okay. It's great. I had a different experience with the transition because I knew I was going to want to sew. And I knew it wasn't just going to be a couple weeks. So when I packed up my room, I had to think about what do I absolutely need to have in order to keep making content and work on my projects. And what are those items that I'm just like, you know what, I'd love to have this, but I don't have it. And I had to pare down to the very, very basics. And I'll tell you what, I learned from that transition, and I am an advocate for it, you don't need all the gadgets. You don't, right?
Yeah.
What you need is a ruler that can be universal or mostly universal, a cutting mat and rotary cutter or a pair of scissors, one of those two things, a way to press your fabric, needle, thread, and a sewing machine, and the fabric you're going to put into your project. Everything else is extra, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is extra. The starch, as much as I hate to say it, extra. The different size rulers, as much as I hate to say it, because they do have a place and they are value, extra. It's all extra. And so we as quilters, I think we tend to look at all the gadgets and all the notions. I know I am guilty of that because I love a gadget.
Me too.
I love a gadget.
Absolutely.
But you look at them and you're like, oh, I need this, and now I need this, and now I need this. And it becomes extremely expensive when fabric is expensive enough.
Yes.
So you could absolutely, I believe you could absolutely be a quilter on a budget and make very beautiful things with minimal investments.
Absolutely.
So
that was actually something that I wanted to do. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're okay.
That was actually something I considered at one point. Was I had a job that I wasn't happy with. Not my current one. I love my current job, but I had a job that I wasn't happy with, and that was like, it was in 2020, like. People were doing van life. Van life was really starting to become very popular because like everybody, you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't fly anywhere, you couldn't do any of that. So people started getting RVs and doing all that kind of stuff. And I honestly I thought about getting not an RV, but one of the Sprinter vans. Because
like Eamon and Beck.
Yes, yeah, like they're living in a van, Karen Nate. But there was one specific one, which it was so funny because I told somebody who does do van life. Really? I told somebody about the van. She's like, you don't need that because it's like $100,000 and like has all the bells and whistles, has a bed that goes up and down into the ceiling, like all the things, She's like, dude, you don't need that. But anyways, my thought was like, okay, I'll get a van. I will pack my fabric and like minimal clothing and like try to go ultra kind of minimalistic, and I will go into national parks and also in national parks and, you know, do that kind of thing. That was a thought that I had. It was a pipe dream. I know it wasn't going to be reality because I'm bougie. I like stuff. I like stuff. And so I knew that there would be no way for me to cut it down to that minimalist lifestyle. But, you know, I thought, how fun would it be to like go to national parks, have your setup, you know, open the side of the van or the back of the van.
Oh, I'm sewing at the beach today.
Right, exactly. Be like, oh, look, it's Yosemite National Park. Here I am, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's been something that I know I've done one purge because I've done the purge of putting stuff into packing boxes. I know I'm going to be doing another purge when I start.
Them.
Yeah, I'm going to open them up and I'll be like, oh, I don't really.
I remember those days. So we get through the transition phase, right? I learned how to still make progress on projects, starting, continuing, finishing even, while being minimal. Just the bare necessities. Just about the bare necessities. This is why we get along.
Yep.
And then I remember when the stuff showed up. Oh my gosh. I did a live stream right from this room where I brought those tubs in, and it's still out there, so you can go watch it. We'll link it down below. I just wanted to see what was in the tubs and the boxes. And I literally turned on the camera, and I think for 3 hours I sat in here pulling things out of the tubs, pulling things out of the boxes and starting to put them away. But as I was doing that, I started purging because I had been in this space where I was like, okay, I've done without it already for X number of months. And before I put it back on my shelf, is this something I really want to keep?
Yeah.
And if not, let's pay it forward. Poor Tiffany. I paid like $200 to ship like 3 or 4 massively heavy boxes to her.
That.
Yes,
I remember that.
I was like, okay, I have a friend who will take anything I send her. And spoiler alert, she's still sewing from that fabric that I sent to her.
Yes. Yes.
She will take anything I send to her. It will get use. And we're not talking about scraps. We're talking about, like, I sent her yardage.
Yes. Yes.
So I took that moment to be like, I only want to keep the stuff I love. The stuff that doesn't bring me joy. I Marie Kondoed my totes as I pulled it out. And spoiler alert, I do that probably once a year or so. I will go through my shelves. I will touch everything, every piece of fabric that's on my shelves. And if a piece of fabric does not bring me joy, or I don't want to work with it anymore because our tastes evolve, I will destash it through a sale, a destash site. I will gift it to a friend. I will pay it forward in some way so that that fabric can fulfill its purpose and it's not taking up space on my shelf. Because if I know there's one thing about me, I'm gonna buy more fabric.
Yeah. Yep.
And I have a finite amount of shelf space. So sometimes it's a good idea to go through and cleanse so that you can get more, right?
Yeah. My former roommate, because when I first moved out of my house from mom, when I moved away from mom,
your old apartment,
my very first apartment.
Yep.
It was hilarious because she still teases me about it to this day. Like, I'm packing stuff for this move, and she's like, Ian, you have too much sewing stuff. And I'm like, shut up.
See, but no, that's also one of the things that I had wanted to ask, like at that point, what do you do when somebody says that?
I'll be honest with you, it hurts my feelings a little bit when she was like, you have too much stuff, because she lives the minimal life. She doesn't have all the things. She has things. She has lots of things, but she doesn't, like, her move. I took longer moving out than she did because she had less stuff. Yeah. And I feel bad. Honestly, I feel kind of bad that I have so much stuff, and I keep trying to purge things, but I keep finding myself, no, I like this. I want this.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. I remember when we were living in Arlington, before we knew we were going to move, we had decided we were going to tear it. When we bought the house, the basement had the washroom, a bathroom, and an extra bedroom. And then there was a big open rec room. And the stairs were in the center of it. And we had decided shortly after Zoe was born, we had a friend staying with us who had moved to the area. And so we built a bedroom in the basement for him. It was a nice big bedroom so that he had his own space. And then we just kind of lived around him. We actually didn't really use the basement that much.
Sure.
Well, after Dominic had moved out and I had started sewing, I took up one room. A friend of mine that I grew up with, Glenn, had designed it to be a beautiful sewing space. He bought a couple of IKEA shelves. It was my 40th birthday present.
Oh,
He
nice.
put a little rug down. It was beautiful. And he was an interior designer for IKEA before he was a flight attendant, worked for IKEA, and then went back to flight attendant.
Got it.
So he had kind of that knowledge of you need to have workspaces, right? This needs to be where you sew. This needs to be where you cut. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And he understood the importance of lighting and all of those different things. So he helped me with that, but I outgrew that space pretty quickly. And I had those other areas where it was just sitting empty.
Yeah.
So we took the walls down for that bedroom and expanded out. And I remember when we did that, we had friends come over to help us with the demo to tear down the couple of walls. And then we hired some people to come in, sand and paint. And then I started putting everything back up. But in order to move the shelves, I had to take all the fabric off the shelves. And I remember feeling a little embarrassed at stacks of fabric that from the ground up, they were hitting at my waist.
Yeah.
And these are non-quilters coming in and they're like, wow, that's a lot of fabric. Where did you get all this fabric? And if for a half of a minute, you're like, oh no, I've bought too much, or I have too much, or I'm a bad person because you're seeing that as I wasted money. But I tried to take those thoughts captive and I started thinking about, well, wait a minute. No. If I was a painter, you would expect me to have paints. If I was a pencil artist, you would expect me to have colored pencils or markers and paper, notepads, books, sketches. You would expect me to have the materials needed for my craft.
Yeah.
It just so happens that my art is created with fabric. And so I need a lot of fabric. Because when the urge strikes and I want to make something, I don't want to have to go shop online.
Yeah.
I don't want the fabric to end up coming to me. I don't want to have to go to a store to source it. I buy fabric that I know I'm probably going to like for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I might have to source little pieces of fabric to go with what's on my shelf and what I've pulled. But I really do, especially now, I really do try to shop my shelves.
Yes. Yeah.
You've seen me do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I, at the beginning of 2024, my goal was this kind of goes into New Year's resolution, and I'm going in a little bit of a tangent, but like, you should never be like, oh, I'm not buying fabric.
Oh gosh,
in 2024,
no. I will
I'm
never.
Not.
That is
No,
not.
no.
That is a resolution that you are set to fail. Now I know there's a couple of people out there that are going to be like, I did it, and I stuck to it. Good for you.
Excellent.
My resolution looking into any new year is never, I will not buy any fabric until I finish, or I will not buy any fabric, blah.
Right.
It is, I will buy fabric with purpose.
Exactly.
With intention.
Exactly.
Sometimes that purpose and intention might just be to buy it before the collection sells out because I know I love it enough.
Yep.
But even in that, I rein myself in a little bit. And I think that's another thing that I feel like I learned from my move. When we lived in or stayed at the hotel, I couldn't have boxes of fabric come in. I couldn't buy things, and I had nowhere to send it because our pod was packed up.
Yep.
So I could not shop. I could not shop. And I did that for 3 months, no shopping.
Yep.
Unless it was something there were maybe a couple of small purchases that I made, but I wasn't buying fabric every week. I wasn't doing any of that. And then when I got here and we had the shelves up and I put all the fabric on the shelves and I could see everything that I had no desire to buy anything because I felt like I had so much. So that's kind of reined me in a little bit. But I remember that moment where I had the fabric, we were tearing down the walls, and I felt judged. Even though maybe I wasn't being judged, I felt judged because I had so much.
Same. Yeah. I love my friend to death. I really do. Like, she is one of my absolute best friends, and there's no negative feelings whatsoever. But it hurt a little bit
It
to hear
did.
her say that. And like, I understand why she says it, and I have a lot of stuff. She's not wrong. I
Right.
have a lot of stuff, and she's 100% correct. But, you know, it stabs a little bit, and you know, doesn't feel good to
Yeah.
hear that. So,
And she probably didn't mean it to
no,
be that way,
absolutely
right? It's
not.
just how I think we as a society tend to allow ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to take on guilt when guilt wasn't necessarily the emotion
Yeah.
or the thing that was trying to be transferred, right?
absolutely.
It might have just been an observation,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Like, oh,
totally.
you have a lot of fabric.
That is
Yep,
that
I
is
do.
100%
Yep, I do.
her. She calls it like it is. She's not, you know, she doesn't sugarcoat things. She's not mean,
Yeah.
but she doesn't sugarcoat things.
Right.
And she was just making an observation.
Yep.
I have a lot of stuff. She is not wrong.
Yep.
So, and part of what I'm excited for is I will have a space that I get to set up, and I can
we're gonna
start
talk about that.
looking. I can
Yeah.
start looking at my fabric instead of, because previous, when I was living in my apartment, my good fabric, the Tula pink, the crimson
in the
tape,
closet.
it was all in my master closet, and so it wasn't out. I couldn't see it.
It wasn't. It was in his closet.
It was literally in the closet. And so if I wanted to use something, I needed to go get it. And I couldn't see it all the time.
Yep.
With your shelves, they're open, and
Yep.
they're like, looking at them right now, I can see them in color order. I can see exactly what you have. I can see that you don't like coral. No, I'm just kidding. Like, there are.
I love coral. Whole shelf of it.
Right, exactly. But like, you, with your stuff, you can see it, and you can shop it, and you can use it, and
Yep.
you can be like, oh, I need to use XYZ. Whereas right now, and previous, I didn't have that, and so
Right.
I have bought things over. Granted,
Oh, I
part
did
of
that.
it-
I did that. I did that. I have a piece of fabric on my shelf. Well, it's not a piece. It's 3 different pieces. It is fabric that I bought to be the background, for a quilt that I knew I was going to make at a retreat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember what background I chose for the retreat quilt. And so while I was in the hotel, I was starting to panic. Did I get that background?
Yeah.
Did I not buy it? And I think I want to change. So I went online and I bought what I wanted to be. And I locked it in my head. That's the one I'm going to use. Well, all the stress of moving and everything, fast forward a little bit. I had gotten that fabric while it was before we were in the hotel. It came right before we packed up and moved to the hotel. So it was in my storage. So while I'm at the hotel, I can't find this background fabric. I forgot I bought it, packed it. And so I go online and I buy another big chunk of this fabric. We're talking like 4 yards because it's a background. I buy that and I'm like, okay, I've got it now. I've got it. And then we get here, and I can't remember what I did with that fabric. I swear I lost it. And I need it, and my room isn't set up yet. I don't even have the shelves built, so I can't see anything. I've got boxes, and I'm not going to open up all of my boxes of fabric to look for the fabric. I just figure, you know what? I'm just going to buy it again. So I buy it a third time.
Oh, no.
I bought 12 yards of this fabric, y'all.
Oh my.
And then I get the kit. And it had the background fabric that I wanted from the beginning. So I have got on a comic board, I'll let you go try and figure out which one it is. I have a background fabric that's about that thick. So yes, I understand what you're saying, but that was also one of those things where I feel like when I saw how many times I bought that same fabric, and this has happened with other pieces, I'm like, you know what? I want to know what's on my shelves before I buy.
Yeah.
And I want to know what I'm going to do with that fabric to some extent before I just buy it.
Yeah.
And having the fabric in color order and having it out there all the time so you can see it helps you kind of remember, do I really need more teal? Because I can picture what my teal shelf at home looks like. And some of those boards where the fabric is really thick, you're like, oh, well, I got a lot of that. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of visually remember. You can also take a picture of your shelves to see what that gradient looks like so you know.
I'm surprised you haven't set up a webcam that shoots directly to your shelves.
Oh, that's coming. That would be great. I love that idea.
You pull it up on your phone and be like, oh, no, I don't
have
have
thought
that one.
about, the geek in me has thought about making a database of all the SKUs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And like putting the yardage in there, and maybe that's like a future topic, like for the
Right.
podcast. But
Right.
the geek in me has been like, ooh, line, designer, SKU number, picture of the salvage, amount of yardage,
I can see
which
you-
shelf.
I could see you with the little laser gun, and like you pull it off your shelf, and you're like,
RFIDs.
when and you like use 2 yards, and you're like, boop, okay, 2 yards, like literally shopping off of your shelves. I could totally see that happening.
That might not be a bad
I
Christmas gift. I might
mean-
need a barcode scanner.
That may
I have
happen.
something I could print it on my label maker.
Oh yeah, you
right?
could.
And they could just do the barcode. Oh, our phone could be a QR code scanner.
Oh.
Oh. Okay, we are literally tangenting right now. Which is, let's just settle ourselves down,
Bring it
geek
back.
out about tech. That
Bring
needs to be a topic that we do.
That-
Like, how do we intertwine tech
Absolutely.
with quilting?
Oh, we
because
will
I think,
definitely get to that,
and that
for
might be
sure.
a whole series.
Oh, that will, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
All the things that you can do. So, anywho, all that to say, the transition period was difficult.
Yeah.
And by the time I was ready to unpack, I was ready to be in a space.
Yes.
And I imagine that's kind of where you're at now, right? Like,
Yep.
it won't be long. It won't be long.
I'm excited because I'll have a dedicated studio space, a
Yeah.
dedicated YouTube space, because
Yep.
back in my old apartment, I would have to put up all of the YouTube gear and take it down. Like, it was literally sitting in front of my TV, so I didn't want to block the TV while my ring light was there.
Yep.
So I'm excited to have a dedicated space where I can leave things up, I can have that space, use it, and then walk away from it and
Yeah.
not have to take everything down. So I am excited for that. I'm ready to start getting everything set up, but some of my cameras are still in the moving truck. Some of the stuff that I need is still on the moving truck, and I'm not quite there yet. So I'm anxious. I'm super excited for it, but I'm just not quite there yet.
That'll come in time, right? As long as all of your stuff is on the truck, there's no sense sitting in a dark, empty apartment, right? We've got internet, we've got all the comforts of home. I've got fabric on my shelves that if you really wanted to shop, you could. So one day you'll be there. And I think that's actually a good segue and maybe a good place for us to wrap this 3-hour conversation.
Exactly. 3
don't know how-
hours later.
Well, my mind was actually going 3-hour tour, but I'll take 3 hours later.
That too.
I have no idea how long we've been talking.
Who knows?
We could still go. We could go longer, but I think we're at a good pause,
I think
right?
so. I think
because next week, what I want to talk to you about,
Next week?
or 2 weeks from now,
Right.
the next episode, what I really want to talk to you about
Yeah.
is how did you come up with what you're going to do in your studio?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking that's going to work? What are you thinking that's not going to work? Where's your mind going?
Absolutely.
That's a topic that I was eager to share with my YouTube community because I designed this whole space.
Right.
And I walked you through all the decisions that I made. I've done tour videos on this space. I'm proud of this space. But that's a whole 2-hour conversation in
Right.
itself, right?
Absolutely. And I can talk about how my living room was my sewing room.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you sew when all you have is the desk in a hotel room and that's your dedicated space? And how do you sew when you have a 400 square foot she shed with its own running water and electricity and
Hey, no judgment.
no judgment. Like everybody's space is their space. And sometimes that space is shared space. I've been there, done that, even in our home. I know that I am lucky to be in a space like this. So let's just talk about what sewing spaces look like. So in that vein, in the description box down below, there will be a link to a form on my website that you can go and fill out. If there are podcast topics you would like us to cover, things you would like to hear us tangent about for an hour or two, fill it out. But also, if there are questions that you would like us to cover in that, let's talk about our sewing studio. Let's talk about our sewing space. Let's talk about that. Put those on that form as well, and we'll try to cover those. And maybe this is our inaugural episode, so I don't have any viewer questions to
Right,
ask,
yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
to talk about. We just had to kind of spitfire. But maybe by next time we'll have a couple of questions that we can pull up and be like, oh, well, Jan Brown wanted to know, Ian, will you do a sewing room tour?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, we would
in
love
2
to hear
weeks.
from you. We would love to hear what topics do you want us to talk about? What burning questions do you have for us? We would love to hear it. Go fill out that form. Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from you. Have you ever moved your sewing space, and what was your experience like? What was your experience like? Leave us a comment down below.
Yeah.
Let us know some tips, some tricks, and your experiences, because we want to hear what you have to say about moving your space, your fabric, your sewing machine, all of that. Some people
Yeah.
have already started to share theirs with me on my channel. And some of the stories are just crazy. So I want to hear from you down in the comments below. Leave us a comment. Tell us about your moving experience, how well it went, how horrible it went, all of the above. And if you have, if there's somebody that has never moved before, what would you suggest to them as some good moving tips?
Yep. I can picture the comment section just being spammed with "never again." But on that note, let's end with, what's your one piece of advice to a quilter who has never moved before? What would you tell them to absolutely do?
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, absolutely protect your fabric. Make sure whatever mode of transport you're going to be putting it in, whether it's in your own car, on a moving truck, in a U-Haul, in a pod, shipping, whatever you're going to do, protect that fabric with some plastic. Make sure it goes in a plastic bag before it goes in a box.
Yep. I think my big piece would be understand how, or my big tip would be understand how long you will be without your stuff.
Yeah.
And make sure that you are prepared for that with
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, whether it's handwork, a project, a sewing machine, whatever. Make sure you have what you need to get through that transition period until you can get to the rest of your stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. I like it.
Yep.
Sounds good.
This is our first podcast, and I don't know how we're signing off.
I don't know either. Let us know down in the comments below how we should. Guys, thank you so much for joining our first inaugural podcast of Sew Off Kilter. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to check us out on our channels, because Becca goes live every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
Which is weird saying. I almost said Central. 8 p.m. Eastern, and then don't forget to check me out. Most of the time, I'm going live at 2 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. This whole Eastern Central thing is throwing me off, but I'll get there. I'll get there. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll have to come up with some way to sign off. We'll figure that out, hopefully, for next time.
Yeah, you have your own sign off.
do.
I have mine.
I do,
And so
yeah.
we could say them on top of each other, but that would probably
would
kill
be
people.
weird.
Don't talk on
That
top
would-
of each
no.
other. I would be that one of those people. But I will tell you, if you don't know, on the Sew Off Kilter podcast channel, we have set it up so that there is a featured playlist from Ian and a featured playlist from me. And so any videos that we're like, hey, you want to go check this out? Those are some of the videos that we're really proud of that we've made. So if you're looking for more content from either one of us, of course, our podcast will be on that channel as well. But there's also a playlist from Ian. There's a playlist from me. So go check out all those videos. And I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's get quilty.
Yeah, that's one way we can end it. Yeah.
Let's get quilty.
get
I don't know.
quilty.
I don't know. I don't know.
Getting quilty with it? Like, getting quilty with nah. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, are we done?
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Now we gotta get up and do the thing.
That was good.
It was.
Please tell me you actually recorded all.